Sir, there continues to be unrest in the Grey Quarter.
Blast to Dark Elves. I don't suppose you could tell them that I presently have larger concerns, such as all of Skyrim.
They don't seem to be very sympathetic to our cause, sir.
Let me know if you hear anything more substantial.
Of course, my lord.
Don't cross me, elf. For a dragon to attack Heinz Grove? Why? Why there? Is no place safe?
Well, if it isn't the Glenmoral Witches, how can I assist you, companion?
By Revan. Etzloff Errol was last of the litter of 5 born to the queen of the prosperous Nordic kingdom of Erilgard, Lafkikopia, and her husband, the king of Erilgard, Yuvlof. During pregnancy, the queen had been more than twice as wide as she was tall, and the act of delivery took 3 months and 6 days after it had begun. It is perhaps understandable that the Lapracopa elected, upon expelling Etzloff to frown, say good riddance and die. Like many Nords, Yitlof did not care very much for his wife and less for his children. The subjects were puzzled, therefore, when he announced that he would follow the ancient tradition of his people, of Atmora, of following his beloved spouse to the grave. They had not thought they were particularly in love, nor were they aware that such a tradition existed. Still, the simple people were grateful for the little royal drama, which alleviated their boredom, which was and is a common problem in the more obscure parts of northern Skyrim, particularly in wintertide. He gathered his household staff and his 5 fat, bowling little heirs in front of him, and divided his estate. To his son, Yehop, he gave his title. To his son, Lernu, he gave his land. To his son, Saibud, he gave his fortune. To his daughter, Lasifrita, he gave his army. Yutlof's advisors had suggested he keep the inheritance together for the good of the kingdom, but Yutlof did not particularly care for his advisors, or the kingdom for that matter. Upon making his announcement, he drew his dagger across his throat. One of the nurses, who was rather shy, finally decided to speak as the king's life ebbed away. Your Highness, you forgot your 5th child, little Etzloff. Good, Etzloff groaned. It's somewhat hard to concentrate with blood gushing from one's throat, after all. The king tried in vain to think of something to bequeath. There was nothing left. Finally, he sputtered irritably. Etzloff should have taken something then, and died. That a babe but a few days old is expected to demand his rightful inheritance was arguably unfair, but so Etzloff Errol was given his birthright with his father's dying breath. He would have nothing but what he had taken. Since no one else would have him, the shy nurse, whose name was Drishpa, took the baby home. It was a decrepit little shack, and over the years that followed, it became more and more decrepit. Unable to find work, Drishpa sold all of her furnishings to buy food for little Eslav. By the time he was old enough to walk and talk, she had sold the walls and the roof as well, so he had nothing but a floor to call home. And if you've ever been to Skyrim, you can appreciate that that is scarcely sufficient. Drishpa did not tell Eslav the story of his birth, or that his brothers and sisters were leading quite nice lives with their inheritance, for, as we have said, she was rather shy and found it difficult to broach the subject. She was so painfully shy, in fact, that whenever he asked any questions about where he came from, Drishpa would run away. That was more or less her answer to everything, to flee. In order to communicate with her at all, Eslav learned how to run almost as soon as he could walk. He couldn't keep up with his adopted mother at first, but in time he learned to go toe, heel, if he had anticipated a short but fast sprint, and a heel toe, if it seemed Drishpa was headed for a long-distance marathon flight. He never did get all the answers he needed from her, but Eslav did learn how to run. The kingdom of Ergolard had, in the years that Eslav was growing, become quite a grim place. King Yopot did not have a treasury, for Sunubud had been given that. He did not have any property for income, for Larunu had been given that. He did not have an army to protect the people, for Lestafrita had been given that. Furthermore, as he was but a child, all decisions in the kingdom went through Dunhop's rather corrupt council. It had become a bureaucratic, exploitive land of high taxes, rampant crime, and regular incursions from neighboring kingdoms. Not a particular unusual situation for a kingdom of Tamriel, but an unpleasant one nonetheless. The time finally came when the tax collector arrived to Drishpa's hovel, such as it was, to collect the only thing he could, the floor. Rather than protest, the poor shy maid ran away, and Eslav never saw her again. Without a home, or a mother, Eslav did not know what to do. He had grown accustomed to the cold open air and Drishpa's shack, but he was hungry. "May I have a piece of meat?" he asked the butcher down the street. "I'm very hungry." The man had known the boy for years, often spoke to his wife about how sorry he felt for him. Growing up in a home with no ceilings or walls, he smiled at Eslav and said, "Go away, or I'll hit you." Eslav hurriedly left the butcher and went to the nearby tavern. The tavern keeper had been a former valet in the king's court and knew that the boy was by right a prince. Many times he had seen the poor ragged lad in the streets and sighed at the way fate had treated him. "May I have something to eat?" Eslav asked this tavern keeper. "I'm very hungry." "You're lucky I don't cook you up and eat you," replied the tavern keeper. Eslav hurriedly left the tavern for the rest of the day. The boy approached the good citizens of Irgolard, begging for food. One person had thrown something at him, but it turned out to be an inedible rock. As night fell, a raggedy man came up to Eslav and, without saying a word, handed him a piece of fruit and a piece of dried meat. The lad took it wide-eyed, and as he devoured it, he thanked the man very sweetly. "If I see you begging on the streets tomorrow," the man growled, "I'll kill you myself. There are only so many beggars we of the guild allow in any one town, and you make it one too many. You're ruining business." It was a good thing Eslav Errol knew how to run. He ran all night. Eslav Errol's story is continued in the book Thief.
It's so good to see you again. Oh, thank you. Divines bless your kind heart. The divine smile on a charitable soul.
both my daughters. Now my wife? How much
Got
is
some
one
fresh
man
baked
supposed
bread?
to take?
Let's sate that appetite, hmm? Enjoy your stay, and don't break nothing.